No, I am not a robot. I am Steve Guttenberg, and this is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. And today's a special episode. It's all about the first Wat F8 power amplifier. Designed by Nelson Pass, made in California. It's $4,000. I think it's beautiful. Oh, and do you notice, by the way, this is a first for first Wat amplifiers. It has one blue LED on the right side of the front panel. All others had two. So this is earth-shattering to people who are into first Wat amplifiers. Why one blue LED and not two? It's a mystery. Well, it won't be for long, because I asked Nelson Pass why in an interview that I did. It's going to run very soon after this review post. And, well, we talk about a hell of a lot more than that one blue LED. We talked about basically how he approaches amplifier design. Well, because I think he's an artist. I think, well, he sees himself, and I would agree, he's not just making another amplifier. First Wat amplifiers are special. They have unusual circuitry, use parts that aren't found in many other amplifiers, and they have a sound. And Nelson doesn't design first Wat amplifiers with any pretense of being universal amplifiers, meaning, oh, they'll drive any speaker. No, they don't. That's clear. They're not universal in that sense, or probably any sense. But if you want an amplifier designed by Nelson Pass that will drive any speaker within its power limitation, he has his other company, Pass Labs, and Pass Lab amplifiers can pretty much drive anything. First Wat amplifiers, some care must be taken with matching amplifier to speaker. Even amplifiers, even speakers that look like they would be a good match, don't necessarily click. So care and feeding is required. But when they hit it, they are very special. And I'm saying that as someone who has been lucky enough to live with 4 first Wat amplifiers over the last 10 or so years. I have here the first Wat J2, first Wat F7, first Wat SIT3 or SIT3, and now the F8. And over the course of this review, I'm going to do some comparisons between those 4 amplifiers. As for the details of the design and all that stuff, well, I'm going to put up some specifications for all 4 amplifiers on the page right now. But in the more detailed description of what's inside these boxes, well, that's covered in the Pass interview, in the Nelson Pass interview. And I would strongly urge you to watch it. Now, it's about an hour long. I separated it into 2 parts. You could watch it at your leisure. But I think it's fascinating, and we definitely have chemistry, so it was a fun piece to do, and I hope you guys enjoy watching the interview. As for listening to the F8, well, to start, I didn't do any comparisons. I just listened to the F8 with the Cornwall 4s. Now, by the way, the rest of my system, rather than just blah, 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 talk about it all the time, it's listed in the description below every video that has an equipment review in it. So all the stuff that's in my system is there for your perusal. But anyway, the first Wat F8 and the Cornwall 4s were magical together. But all 4 of those amplifiers do really, really well. The J2, the F7, SIT3, and the F8 all click with that speaker. Possibly because it's a high sensitivity speaker. Beyond that, I can't say. All I can say is, as I was listening to it, those first 100 or so hours of listening to the F8, I kept thinking, this is the best one. This is the best first Wat amplifier I've heard on these Cornwalls. It sounded good on the KEF LS50 Metas as well. But the magic of it, the believability of it, the musicality of it, the depth, the space, the tangibility of the sound over the Cornwalls was truly special. So to get started with the music portion of my listening and what I'm going to tell you about it, I started out with some live Dave Brubeck. This one, live at Carnegie Hall. Plays hits from his Time Out record. And I got to say, his Time Out album, which is a year or 2 before this one, was huge seller and continued to be for decades and decades, because it doesn't sound like anything else at that time, and probably even after that, after the time, because he uses unusual time signatures. They're not 4/4. And as a non-musician, and that's definitely me, I was totally engaged with, wow, I've never heard music sound like that, those rhythms, I don't know what's going on, I can't articulate it then or now, but it definitely hooked me. And to hear it over the F8 with the Cornwalls, yes, I was on the edge of my seat, just so there. And this live recording from the early 60s is really, really good. I mean, you really feel Carnegie Hall, you really feel the audience. It's very tactile. It's a little thin tonally. I wish it had a little more warmth to the sound. But overall, it's a fun recording. It's an intellectually engaging recording. I mean, his music is, and it's captured so well on this disc. But I'm a huge Dave Brubeck fan, so the F8 was working for me, definitely. Well, the first comparison I did is with the SIT3, the first Wat SIT3 on the Cornwall 4s. It was obvious from the beginning that the SIT3 was darker, richer, fuller bodied, but a less transparent, less agile sounding amplifier. The F8 just was lighter on its feet and communicated rhythms a little better than the SIT3. But there's something really amazing going on between the SIT3 and the Cornwalls. It has this oomph to it. The low end seems more robust, more like just charging through that speaker. I'm going to talk about that a little more soon. But living with these four, the J2, F7, SIT3, and F8, you know, it's sometimes it's like a mood thing for me. What do I want to listen to? If not reviewing an amplifier or something, I'm just listening for pleasure. I really enjoy just spending time with each of them because they sound different. I mean, the F7 is another one that's very relaxed, open. 3D imaging is really incredible. Better than the F8. And by the way, one of the nice things about the F7 is it's $3,000. It's still in production. It's $3,000. The others that we're talking about, F8, SIT3, and the J2, are $4,000. So that might tilt the balance for some of you. But I remember when I reviewed the F7, I was really sucked in by the way the image just kind of flowered, just bloomed right in front of me with the F7. The J2 and the F8, are you keeping score? The J2 and the F8 are closer, but I think the F8 is considerably more transparent than the J2. So I wanted to play a recording that was very dynamic, uncompressed, and I played this amazing record. I was present at the session by Ola Tunji, Love Drum Talk. This was a great, great session. But it started out kind of weird. It's a good 20 years old, I'm guessing. Anyway, it was recorded in a church on 20th Street in Manhattan. And I think that first day, there was a misunderstanding between Ola Tunji and David Chesky, who was the producer of the record, that Ola Tunji wanted to make more of a, let's say, a fusion record, a louder, more kick-ass record. And Chesky wanted something more acoustic, more folkloric, let's say more authentically African. I don't remember, it was a long time ago. But basically, they were going in opposite directions. And in the beginning, it didn't look like this could possibly work out because they had different agendas. But actually, there was, on the second day of the session, a meeting of minds. And it came together, and he had great singers, and the hand claps were incredible. But the drums, Ola Tunji's music is all about drumming. And there's lots of drumming on this record. Hand drumming, not a drum kit kind of sound. And it was a blast. Now the thing is, the F8 put me in the church. I could hear that church on 20th Street, St. Peter's, better through the F8 than I could through, let's say, the J2. The J2 made everything sound closer, let's say closer mic'd, closer to the microphone. And as far as I can recall, and it was a long time ago, there was only one stereo microphone used for that session. Or maybe there was one also for the singers. But in any case, it was a minimally mic'd recording. And I didn't sense that as clearly over the J2 because it made everybody, the singers and the drummers and the other instruments sound closer than they really were. And the F8 definitely got me closer. Now, switching over to the SIT3 further expanded the sound, more church, more space, but not as clearly defined. The bottom wasn't as solid. It was deep, it was powerful, but not as pitch defined as it was on the F8. Then I played is African Head Charge. And this music was recorded in the early 90s, definitely not a Chesky recording. And it's sampled and processed and screwed around with in various ways. But it's a great recording and has really powerful, deep, deep bass. And I played it on the Cornwalls and the LS50 metas. And even on the little metas, that bottom end was really kicking ass. But the SIT3's bottom end, especially on the Cornwalls, was just bigger and ballsier than the F8. Not as controlled, but just in terms of wham, bam, hitch in the gut kind of sound, the SIT3 was outdoing the F8. But the F8 was, let's just use the word, one of my least favorite audio words, more accurate. It was more in control. So in terms of visceral kicks, the SIT3 and Cornwall was my personal favorite, and it is my choice after all, right? But anyway, seriously, they're doing, I keep going round and round here. They're doing different things, and that's the beauty of it. And I imagine, and I'm guessing strongly, that there's a lot of people out there who own more than one Nelson Pass First Watt design, and of course there's Pass Labs design, because they have character. They really, really do. And in this interview, which I again urge you strongly to watch, which will go up in a day or so, he has just so much to say. When you hear him talking about what goes into designing these things, yeah, it's his passion, it's his life, and he's getting to do exactly what he wants to. And it shows. It really shows in the way the products are made. They're not fancy, they're not particularly beautiful, but they're very functional. They're well crafted, absolutely, in California, if I forgot to mention it. But considering they're limited production pieces, they don't go on and on forever, except with the exception of the first Wat J2, which seems to go on for a long, long time. The others are around for a year, 2 years, and then he phases them out because he has a new design. So if you own more than one First Watt, I'd like to hear about your impressions of how they sound different from each other and with different speakers that you have. Now all First Watt amplifiers are low power design. I think they top out at about 30 watts for the most part. Yeah, that's one of the big differences between Nelson Pass's First Watt design and Nelson Pass's Pass Labs design is power. Pass Labs amps are almost all considerably more powerful than the First Watt. And even the baby of the Pass Labs line, the XA25, which is 25 watts a channel, yeah, but it's also 50 watts a channel into 4 ohms. It just feels considerably more powerful than any of the First Watts. But I'm happy to have one here. I'm happy to have the XA25 sitting here in the collection. But when I go from the XA25 to any of the First Watts, the XA25 winds up sounding more like a normal amplifier. And I am a pleasure-seeking audiophile. I'm a thrillist. I want thrills and chills and excitement when I'm listening to recorded music. I don't care. I've said it before. I will now say it for the umpteenth time. I don't care about accuracy. If that's what you're searching for, I'm not saying it's wrong. I think you should. I think if that's your bliss, go accurate as you possibly can. But that's not my choice. I want music, as much of my recordings on LP and CD and whatever files I'm playing or streaming, I want all of it to sound pleasing to my ears. This is my personal choice, not so much for reviews. I'm just telling you what I heard, what I felt when I did the review. That's it. I'm giving you an impression, not a science report. Yes, with that I can say, I am not a robot, and my name is Steve Guttenberg, and this is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. And when you do, please hit that little notification bell so you'll be notified every time there's a new episode. And there will be one, generally speaking, every other day, which adds up to 4 days a week. But you could also check out my Patreon, which can be found at patreon.com/audiophiliac. And Patreon now accepts payment in dollars, pounds, and euros. Well, you can follow me on Instagram, and by the way, Instagram TV, IGTV, which has longer form videos than regular Instagram. And I've been making videos for IGTV for a while now, and they're just sort of off-the-cuff ramblings by yours truly. And there's no edits for the most part. It's just whatever came out of my mouth at that moment winds up on IGTV. And they're fun to do, and I think people are enjoying them, so I'll probably continue doing them. But I also post pictures all the time on Instagram of audio gear and just walking around Brooklyn, and just stuff that interests me winds up on my Instagram. That's still pictures. What else? Well, you can follow me on Twitter, by the way, at AudiophiliacMan. And check out my playlists for speaker reviews and headphone reviews and music reviews, etc., etc., etc. And tons of interviews, including many, many more with the man himself, the man of the hour right now, Nelson Pass, and they were linked to here, the playlist for more Nelson Pass interviews. And with that, I can say my work here is, at last, complete. So thank you again for watching, and I really, really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.